Have you ever said to yourselves or heard somebody else say that I am not creative, um, and really believe that? Well, I submit to you, in my humble opinion, it's not that you're not creative. It's just that you're thinking about it from the wrong perspective. That said, welcome to a thought provoking journey that celebrates the incredible contributions of Black innovators and visionaries throughout history. In this captivating in this captivating video, we explore the remarkable individuals who have shaped our world with their ingenuity, creativity, and unwavering determination. From groundbreaking inventors to trailblazing leaders, these extraordinary figures have left an indelible mark on society, embodying the timeless values of resilience, perseverance, and hope. Join us as we dive deep into their stories, drawing inspiration from their accomplishments to align with the biblical principles of justice, equality, and pursuit of excellence. Discover the stories of those who have paved the way for a brighter future, breaking down barriers and building bridges of progress. We invite you to be a part of this enriching experience by becoming a member of our community and joining our program, where we also have our exclusive Diamond Club as well. By doing so, you'll gain access to exclusive content, deeper insights, and opportunities to engage with like minded individuals who share your commitment to making the world a better place. And in order to do so, make sure that you go to www.totalmindsetshift.com, where we'll welcome you with open arms. Now, that being said, we're going to kind of go after it first and dive right into this because I think it's important. And we're going to start off first with what I tend to call cultural icons. And for me, I want to kind of give you guys just kind of like a snippet of information, a tidbit of information first. So, Edward Kennedy Ellington, also known as Duke Ellington, was born in 1899, was not merely a musician but a maestro whose compositions transcended the boundaries of jazz, redefining American music in the process. Often hailed as one of the greatest composers of the 20th century, Ellington's career spanned over 5 decades, during which he composed thousands of pieces, performed countless concerts, and left an indelible mark on the cultural landscape of America and beyond. Ellington's influence extended far beyond the realm of music. He was a cultural ambassador for the United States, touring extensively around the world and spreading the gospel of jazz to audiences everywhere. His collaborations with artists from various disciplines, including ballet, theater, and film, further cemented his legacy as a cultural icon whose impact transcended genre boundaries. The next person I want to bring to the table is Marguerite Annie Johnson, also known as Maya Angelou. She was born in 1928, was not just a writer but a literary phenomenon whose words resonated with audiences around the world. A poet, memoirist, a civil rights activist, Angelou's creative contributions span multiple genres and mediums, leaving an enduring legacy that continues to inspire generations. At the heart of her work was a deep commitment to telling the stories of marginalized communities, particularly African American women, with honesty, empathy, and unflinching courage. Her groundbreaking memoir, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, remains a huge work in American literature, documenting her journey from a traumatic childhood to a triumphant adulthood with lyrical prose and profound insights. So, with that being said, I kind of want to give you guys just a question, and it doesn't have to be specific to these individuals, even though I have their names in the question. So, how have Black cultural icons like Maya Angelou and Duke Ellington influenced not only their respective fields, but also the broader society?
I would say without them, there would be no us. Meaning this, without them, we wouldn't be able to have the platforms that we have to express the way that to express the things that we need to express the way that we need to express them. You understand what I'm saying? So I would say it influenced it in that aspect. Um, Duke Ellington got me in a lot of trouble back when I used to do Chicago style stepping and Detroit style ballroom, and yeah, Duke Ellington got me in a lot of trouble. But that's another way that he influenced it. Like his music allowed a whole community to get together and dance together and actually dance together. Like in the dance community, we dance with everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So he influenced an entire group of people to dance with each other, talk to each other, meet each other, and have connections outside of that just off of the dance. Maya Angelou's words have influenced a lot. I just can't stand the fact that she's in Tyler Perry movies. I hate it. I hate it with every fiber of my being. I can't stand the fact that she's in Tyler Perry movies. But her words and what she says, they've been. I would say that they influenced this generation, but I really believe that her words were recited a little louder and made a little bit more profound because I don't think this is what she meant. And I'm just going to leave it at that because that's not what the show is about.
I go before the philosopher above me. I say when you talk about the Duke, right? Man, just as he talked about being a dancer. I'm a musician. I'm a singer and
And
a
he was so
self-proclaimed
nice.
man. He influenced literally what we do today. I don't think there's anybody more influential in music. Like you could hear Duke Ellington's work in almost everything from hip hop to pop to R&B to dance music to b-boy style music, what they do now. But now they b-boy to everything now. But you know, they, his music has transcended not just culturally as our culture, but culturally as American culture when it comes to music. Um, and then funny story about Maya Angelou. So when my sister passed, I hated reading. Put that out there. Growing up, actually, up until a few years ago, I really despised the idea of putting my eyes to paper reading words. It's just a thing. I was the stereotype. If you wanted me not to know something, put it in the book, and that was me. Um, but when my sister passed away when I was 16, and she went away to college. The only thing that was left in my aunt's house when she left was a bag, and it had like some paper and stuff like that. Then it had a book. It's the first book I sat down and just read all the way through until it was done. Now I didn't read it all in one sitting, but every day I read it until I was done reading it, and that was I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. And so for me, that's a landmark, for me when it comes to literature and when it comes to really reading a book that speaks just off of the wordplay. I hear how they talk about these great poets and these great writers and these great playwriters from the Renaissance era and so far and so forth. But I think between the Duke and Maya Angelou, I love that you picked those two together because people always talked about how creative we are, and we know that the world knew it. Anyone who was ever in contact with us understood that we spoke, sung, and played, did everything from the soul. But these are two pioneers that did it at a level that it couldn't be silenced and it couldn't be ignored. It was undeniable that there's something to be said. And so now we just get to enjoy the world exposing our icons, you know, all year round now. But thanks to the work that primarily these two have done. Yes.
Man, you see, you throwing out the bombs tonight. You talking about Duke Ellington, and you talking about Maya Angelou, and
As indescribable as they are.
right. And when we like lifted. Now I don't know if that you talking about Cicely Tyson, because I'm not a Tyler Perry fan, but I know she was in old boy movies.
Maya
They were in
Angelou
it
was in
together.
they
Yeah.
were in it together.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not a
I think
yeah.
it's the family reunion. One was the grandmother,
Yeah.
like the aunt.
And
Oh,
one
okay,
was the
yeah. Because
friend
I'm
of the
not.
grandmother.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, but my first love is music, and then comes comedy when it comes to things of this sort. And when you talk about Duke Ellington, you talk about a man who was a jazz pianist, but that wasn't all because he controlled an orchestra. And without him, you wouldn't have a Ray Charles. Without him, you wouldn't have hot butter popcorn and or Velvet Teddy Bear and Barry White and Isaac Hayes, all these people that not only played instruments but controlled the orchestra and had not just an ear but a heart for music. And these people lifted up a community with their music, not just made sounds. And that's, my man, he comes along and he was happy about doing it. He wanted you to feel the music and not just hear it. And when you're talking about Maya being in English class, I remember we had to. I didn't want to read the books, but when you talk about her literary works and you're reading them, they were so descriptive to where you could picture yourself in whatever she was trying to paint the picture of. You can see it. And I just want to add to that, and we talked about it earlier, one that's closer to our generation and Dapper Dan. And he's not closer in age because he was born in 1944, but he's closer because Dapper Dan out of Harlem, New York, he influenced the dress and attire of every hip hop artist coming through the 70s and 80s and 90s, even the Jay-Z's. He influenced that, whether it be you talking about Eric B. and Rakim when he got those leather coats on the first music video, Salt and Pepper, when they were rocking it, push it videos and things of that sort. These are pioneers in our community that said, man, I got something to bring to the table as well. And what they did it to the highest degree to where it still stands alone. People still talk about him this day. This man is 79, 80 years old, and they're still talking about what he did and what they wore from his fashion line out of Harlem, New York, but spread all over the world.
They said I watched a hip hop documentary, and they said the first two things you do when you get a deal, you buy a chain and you go see Dapper Dan. That's the first two things you do.
Hey, it was funny, Ro. For that era, another person who influenced both that generation when it comes to, because you mentioned a lot of people who had talked about it too. He's a Detroit native, but a New York icon because he's a New York Giant, two-time Super Bowl champion, Carl Banks. Because him in the starter jackets that they used to wear back then, he
With
kind of
the
made
S
that
in the
popular.
middle.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And so when you brought that up and brought up those names, I was like, bam, Carl Banks too. Yeah.
See, I love the fact that you brought in the Dapper Dan aspect of it, because I'm still stuck on the creative geniuses behind literary work and music and things of that nature. Not that Dapper Dan wasn't a genius in his own right. I'm with you there. But the first thing I thought about as I'm listening to you guys talk, and as we was talking about Maya Angelou and Duke Ellington, I was thinking Sammy Davis Jr. And a lot of people don't
Tap is
really,
one of my favorite movies with him,
bro.
Gregory
Him and
Hines,
Gregory Hines,
Sandman, and all of them. Oh my
absolutely,
God, I still watch that movie to this day.
absolutely. And sometimes it's just amazing just to see, and I used to love Gregory Hines as well. But it's just amazing to see them perform on stage and how many hours and hours and hours they put in, practicing and becoming great in their craft. It's like we
And not
just don't.
only that, watching Sammy Davis match Gregory Hines at the age Sammy
At his
Davis
age. Yeah,
was. That was
right.
amazing
That's
to me.
exactly. So I just love that. And then you got to look at doing his era, because I think Sammy Davis Jr. was born in what, 1925, 20, 24, 25, something like that. Um, So you got to realize some of the people that he ran with and some of the people that he got to deal with during that era, right? And it just because of that brilliance, right? That mastery level skill set that he possessed. Same with Duke Ellington, same with Maya Angelou, right? Same with John Coltrane. Like the mastery level skill set that they possess, it opened doors to where, sure, you can consider at that particular point in time there still was some barriers, but there were less barriers simply because, listen, that dude is great. They are great at what they do. So we're going to kind of like get into it and kind of, break that down a little bit and welcome them to the world because those guys, all of them, I think, are trendsetters. And it's a number of them out there. These are just a few to come to mind. So before we kind of dive on anything else, any other comments, thoughts you guys want to bring to the table?
How simple it would be if we understood that words and music, that's a universal language that can bring everybody together. Just hearing how you talked about Sammy Davis Jr. and me remembering the movies that I used to watch and him being a part of the Rat Pack and open the door open and being a part of a crew who really didn't look like him, but they were like, hey, we like what you do. So come roll with us. That people could learn an extremely valuable lesson just by watching how music and words brought nations together and brought people that didn't even think that they were supposed to be together under the umbrella of music and words. Now I'm gonna shut up. I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, you're good, man. You're good. And I think some of us got the opportunity to see that as well. Not back then, more so in the more recent future. People like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson had all kind of people crying behind him. So I mean, you can see that. You can see the genius in the art. Go ahead.
And he did a duet with one of the Beatles, "The Girl Is Mine," with
Hmm.
Paul McCartney. He was another gap bridger under the guise of under the umbrella of music, and that song got me in a lot of trouble too.
We're just gonna stop you from listening to music altogether.
I can't dance to it because here's why I like where this is, and I kind of feel like I'm talking too much because I'm kind of passionate about this because music and the dance was a huge part of my life. And everybody that taught me, and I was blessed to be taught by some of the greatest. That's how I won 2 championships. I was blessed. They all taught me to listen to the music. Don't worry about the beat. Don't worry about the count. Listen to the music and listen to the words. So I would literally dance with the woman that I am dancing with, like I'm the guy singing this song. You understand what I'm saying? So it's what a lot of people don't understand, man. It's deeper than just music when you really, really, really look at it, man. It's deeper than just music. So I'm gonna shut up.
Right, you're good, man. You're not talking too much. I like it. Like what you're bringing to the table. Let's dive into the next question, and we're going to get these statements in the chat here shortly. So the next question, as we're talking about some of these people, right? What challenges did these Black cultural icons face in gaining recognition and acceptance from their contribution? And how do you believe that they overcome some of these obstacles? Chris, I think you hit on a key point just now, but I'll leave that to the table for you to bring out again. So how do you think they overcame those obstacles as well?
I mean, that's honestly really what it was. They got a bunch of people got together and said, okay, this is bigger than skin color. I like what you're doing and I like what you're saying. Come roll with us. That's really what it was. I think that's the biggest challenge that I think we have today. Everybody wants to do it, but they gatekeep the information that prevents other people from doing it. You understand what I'm saying? Like back then, I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. was a part of the Rat Pack when we were still being treated like 3/5 of a person. You understand what I'm saying? Like, do you? I don't think people understand how powerful that is. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think people understand how powerful that is. And this is why I'm objective about it. Like, and I look at it and it's like, this is common sense, but I can understand why people don't see it. And I think the biggest challenge that they had back then was being seen. But even still, Maya Angelou became a cultural icon. Sammy Davis Jr., you can't speak his name without any reverence. Like you can't. It's Sammy Davis Jr. Y- It's Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington, the pioneer of pretty much every structured dance song that's ever been created. Like, are you kidding me? I just wish people understood that, man.
So if
Certain
I
things transcend race, certain things transcend how you feel, certain things transcend how you look.
yeah, if I can get you to do me a favor, because you mentioned Rat Pack a couple of times, could you explain who the Rat Pack is to those people who don't know?
I'll look it up. I know one was Sammy Davis Jr., one was Frank Sinatra.
I think the other one was Dean Martin, um, and I can't remember the fourth one.
I'm looking it up now.
You're muted, Ro. You're muted.
So that's back when we used to watch those black and white movies too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as he's looking it up, let's kind of keep the ball rolling here because
It was Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, and Humphrey Bogart.
there we go.
Humphrey Bogart from CBS News back then when we were being looked at as you know what, man, I'm not doing this tonight.
Now I'm gonna jump in on her because I think one of the challenges is how the mindset was set up. Because you talk even back then, you talking about coming out of Reconstruction and all of those things. These people had struggles that we couldn't even fathom today, and the mentality was, you can't do that. You can't make music like that. They're not gonna buy from you. You got to do it like this, or you can't write about this. You can't use your brain and your words to stimulate people to move to where it's gonna be anything of substance. So getting past that, one, the crab mentality, and two, the mentality that everyone has to fit in a box, was a challenge that they had to overcome because, even today we still hold on to that, where if you're doing something out of the norm, like, oh, Beyonce made a country record, so she shouldn't be doing that, this, that, and other. I'm not, whatever. I like country music. I like music. But we think that we shouldn't be listening to that, even though we created it. See, we don't, when things are taken away from us and used by other people so long, we forget that we like hockey. We created hockey. But we forgot about hockey because it's cold up north, so we ain't trying to do it. Give us a basketball, football, baseball, and we're good. So crab mentality and getting out of the thinking of boxing yourself in to fit other people's narratives.
Man, both of y'all said some things I really want to comment on, but that's not the question. Man, because y'all didn't say anything wrong. It's just like y'all hit some things that, sometimes when you hear things, you just wish people really caught the depth of what was said.
Like, it makes sense.
Yeah, and some of it goes so much deeper than people would have you think if you just leave things on the surface. But both these brothers threw bombs. But I'm gonna say this. When we talk about obstacles, originally I was looking because I was like, man, let me look at some of these places that the Duke performed at, because he had to cross a lot of barriers just to get to play in some of the places he played. You know, let alone having to be told you can't, you could play at one of the fanciest restaurants in the country, but you can't eat at the main, in the main on the main floor, like stuff like that. Like, but it's deeper for me. maybe because most of the time I went to school, it was for music, and I just recently decided to change to physiology. I don't ask me why. I love sports and I love music, so hey, there you go. Um, but the burden of the responsibility of knowing that music speaks to the heart and the soul of man, and to take on the challenge of speaking to a world and to a nation to break barriers that had to be broken. It wasn't just the barriers and the places he played. It wasn't just the audiences he played in front of and the people he toured with. It wasn't all of that, the influence that he has in what the two step, the one step, the dog was it the dog rag? Like so many brands of dancing that that comes from his music styles. But it's like to know and to accept the responsibility and to carefully move in a way that you speak to the heart of men for just a moment, to where we can look beyond all the surface stuff and begin to make changes in our communities, in our minds, and in our country, specifically because these barriers were broken down by music. And words do the same exact thing, right? Not leaving Maya Angelou out of it. Words does the exact same thing. When you perfectly craft your words, your speech, your poetry, your stories, so that it moves people with you, it makes people feel with you, it makes people think what you're thinking, taste what you're describing, see what you're painting in their mind. There's a responsibility that goes behind that, and I think today it's so misused and so abused, that people really don't care. They're just gonna go for what was popular so you could buy it. It's about the dollar. For them, it was about the change. It was about the impact. And so, without going too far, like I think those are some heavy internal challenges you have to face to be a pioneer. And I say this on the back of what it's not that we can't get the information to do it. I think what the problem really is that it's so much distractions. Some things are made so easy that we don't realize the information to make change is inward, and we don't search inwardly anymore to bring anything to the people. It's just like, oh well, this bump, let's drop this, let's do this. These people spoke to the souls. They spoke from their heart and from their soul, and understood in order to make great music and to make great change, you had to pull it from outside of yourself in order to make it that level of that what we call masterpieces today. That's all I got.
No, I like all of that, and I'm agreeing. Like looking at some of the challenges, I like what you brought up about Duke Ellington playing at some of the finest restaurants, but can't eat at the restaurant. Like if, and I know we talked about the movie The Green Book a few weeks back, but if you go and look at the Green Book, that's one of the encounters that he had. Like he was a very good musician, and he was touring like some of the most prestigious places. Um, but he couldn't eat at this restaurant that he was playing in. He couldn't stay in certain hotels. He couldn't use certain bathrooms. Right, those are certain challenges that they had to face. And then understanding that the art that you are performing, whether it's song, whether it's literature or whatever, or whether it's dance, knowing that some of the people that you are performing for, they look at you as being lesser than them, but you love the art more than you love the feeling that you're getting from the hate that you're receiving. So you pour your heart into the art and allow the art to speak for you. And so that being said, you look at some of the greatness that was expressed, whether you're talking about grabbing a microphone and speaking. Like if you've never heard Les Brown speak, like that dude is like a master with a microphone. They have the ability to bring you from one emotional space, take you all the way up to laughter, and then bring you all the way down to what you're about to cry. And the same thing what Maya Angelou used to do. You get all of that in the art of song as well. Like song literally changes your mood based upon the type of music that's being played. Chris talked about the performing arts and from the perspective of dance. Like literally, a particular song will literally start to guide you across the dance floor. That's why I
And
like the
get
fact
you
that
in a bunch of trouble.
man, you don't. So
I'm
being
sorry, man.
no,
It
you
does.
good, man. You good, but you're right. Go back to what's the guy? Chuck Berry, right? Chuck Berry, same, right? Again, a genius. Had the ability to do everything that he did, and like Chris said, it got him in some trouble as well. So we're not going to ignore that piece. But other than that, right? Looking at some of the things that they did, looking at the challenges that they overcame in order to get to the place of mastery in their craft, to where even though a group of people can hate you, they don't hate you more than they love your craft. And I think that's the key here. Um, so let's see. One last question, then we're going to kind of jump into chats. Um, what about any lesser known black cultural icons? Like we name a few, but those are mainstream. Sammy Davis Jr. popular. Duke Ellington popular. Maya Angelou popular. What about some lesser, icons that if you can think of any? You muted, Ro. Oh, okay.
Oh, I was talking to myself. I was, mouthing it. You said lesser known, as in we will know them, but they just aren't as popular.
Correct.
Hmm. Lesser known, but I got to give flowers to people like Mr. Make them say, nah, I got to give it.
He's
I mean, I
Nah,
know
nah, nah,
it's
nah.
different, but it
You
takes,
know what though? His business mind is crazy though. His
yes, his
business mind
big
Absolutely.
is
business acumen
crazy.
is out of this world, because you talk about somebody who has a knowledge of drug culture and flipped it, changed it all the way around to where he can get out of that. And the man did his own movies. He had his own label. He had, he took it went and had a 85% deal where he's getting 85% of the proceeds for sales, because he had enough faith in himself when the record label say, "Nah, go ahead and do your own thing,"
Yeah,
and
didn't he
then
say
went
something
from
along the lines of
10,000 to 300 million.
yeah, like when he got his deal, he said something along the lines of, "Man, I just want 500,000 in all of my publishing. That's it." He was selling records
Mm-hmm.
out of his trunk. Like no record label like really really owned what he had. Like from the gate, he had his own name, and when he had his own name, all of his artists, he had all of their masters too. So you right, man. His business acumen was just crazy.
Yeah, Percy
And
Miller.
then he played in the NBA. He was a hooper for the Charlotte Hornets.
Did
For
it
like a
really?
week.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
played.
For like
I didn't
for
know
like a
that.
week.
He had like a
He
10-day
yeah,
contract, but
10-day
he still
contract.
played.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a hooper.
He played for like a week. But he was a hooper. He was good in
See, but
college. Yeah.
we can't minimize that, because so many
Yeah.
try to do
Right.
what he did.
Yeah.
And see, and that's the thing. I don't think we should minimize those that make efforts, because they're making an effort to do something that they love, something that they enjoy. And he not only took himself higher, he brought others along with him. He brought his son along. Then they had their little issues, but he brought other people with him to not only flourish in that field, but to move into other genres. And the man knew how to succeed. Period.
He did something that most people in the industry, and it allowed me to see how crooked uh big these big labels really were, because everything they said they had to do to make money, he made the same amount of money in the same amount of time or less time doing the opposite. he gave artists the freedom to fail or to succeed. Right? While they put you in debt, he went and bought houses and cars and put it in the artist's name so that they owned it. You know, and then didn't you gonna pay me back when you sell these records? You're not gonna pay me back. You know, you're not don't pay me off on this house. No, make a living for yourself, take care of your family, and bring great music. And those who, even his brother who messed up, and you know they had to pay their debt. But you know those who took those opportunities to flourish, you know he definitely he didn't do what everybody else did. Let me control your music. Let me control your style. Let me control what you say. No, the world is yours. You know, grab it or lose it. And you see people like Snoop went on to buy the label that screwed him.
Because Snoop
You know,
didn't make any money until Master P showed him how
until
to
he
do it.
got them. Yep.
And Snoop
Absolutely.
says that. Snoop says, I really didn't have bread like that until Master P, until I signed with No Limit. I watched his Drink Champs interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Snoop owns Death Row. So
Interesting.
You know, I'm gonna go a different route because for some strange reason, the only cultural icons that are prevalent are the ones in entertainment. So I'm gonna go a different route, and I'm gonna say the dudes at Fubu. They brought out a whole clothing label, and all of hip hop accepted it for a while. You understand what I'm saying? I think they were the first black group of men to do this. And Son is still making money off of what he doing, and he's on Shark Tank telling other people how to make money off of what they doing.
Yeah.
So I would say that the dudes at Fubu, for real. And to keep it real, I'm starting to see more people rock Fubu now. I'm actually thinking about copping a few things myself, as long as they ain't the extra baggy jeans that we used to wear back in the day. But yeah, man, I would say the guys at Fubu, because they had a skill, and that actually showed a group of black men working together to build something that's big. So that's two shots right there. Like, you all black and you all working together, because for some strange reason they think we can't. You just showed them that we could. So I would say the dudes at Fubu.
Damon John.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I thought somebody was going to say Bufu at first. Okay.
I was gonna say Carl Kanai. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nah.
Can we really count him? Like, no, I'm sincerely asking. Can we really count him?
Well, he had a couple years. He had a couple years.
No, but what I'm saying is, was he black or was he another ethnicity? Because I'm asking because I hear different things. Like, was he black? And yes, I used to rock Carl Kanai myself. I even see Carl Kanai being worn on the streets.
For one, have no idea. But I'm gonna be honest.
This is hip hop. Like,
yeah.
I used to really be into hip hop. Like,
He's from Costa Rica, but he's still black.
Man, you don't. Okay. I'll leave it alone. Okay, Costa Rica.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, I would say
I'll give it to him.
Mine's is a little different. And again, they made a movie about this person. I didn't too particularly care for the movie. But her name is Gertrude Rainey, also known as Ma Rainey. Like I said, I didn't too particularly care for the movie. But back in her era, she made she did like 100 recordings of her own writings. Like, all her songs were written by her. And she was prevalent back in the 20s. And I think the movie, the title, it can be misleading. It's called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But like I said, the movie, it's one of what's the guy that played Black Panther?
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman. So it's a movie he played in as well. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to look at it.
It was his last movie before he passed.
Yeah. So yeah, she was definitely another unsung icon as well. Um, so that being said, let's kind of grab some comments from the chats because again, and wherever you are, go ahead and hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the heart, whatever it is, whatever platform that you're on. Go ahead and hit the like because again, we appreciate you guys being here. So going all the way back up, man, you guys are loading it up too. Um, I think Michelle Ray. I think that's where I want to start at. Yeah, here. Michelle, we talked about Duke Ellington's elementary school is to foster student success by providing the best contemporary education through instructional practices and organizational teaching models. And that's good stuff to know. For an Ellington student, the curriculum will be integrated to encourage rigorous academic, social, and technological skill development. So that's good information to know. I'll be honest with you, I did not even know that there was a Duke Ellington school. I would imagine that it would probably be a school for performing arts, but in reading this, I don't think that's what it is. And I could be wrong, but thank you for sharing that because that's awesome. What else we got? What else we got before we press forward? Let's see, Miss Verlene McCoy. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Miss Verlene McCoy says, Maya Angelou's believing in what you have been given, believing in yourself, determination, remarkable speaker. She opened doors to public speaking. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. And that was one of the reasons why I mentioned the likes of Les Brown, because when you look at, our people getting on stage and like literally mesmerizing a crowd of thousands, it's definitely a enduring task. So thank you for sharing that. Michelle said that Sammy Davis Jr. actually joined the army. I didn't know that. Wait, hold on. I went too far. Okay. The only black Puerto Rican um, Jewish entertainer in the world. I did not know that either. Joined the United States Army when he endured a constant battle with racism. He was constantly mistreated by white troops with whom he was that me? Okay. Where he constantly
It's you again. Uh-oh.
was that me again?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus H.
Oh man. Hey man, the bug is trying to catch us, y'all.
I don't
Pray
want you to
for
talk about Sammy, man.
That's what it is. They want to hear about Stedman. It also says that she also said that he transferred to an entertainment regiment. Davis eventually found himself performing in front of these same soldiers. Again, stuff that we don't know that people don't talk about. I had no idea he was in the army. So thank you for sharing that. Let's grab one more before we move on. Um, King David, who was often associated with the Psalms, was also known for his musical abilities. He played the harp and was a skilled musician who used music to worship God. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. Okay. That said, let's kind of move on to the next talking point, which is pioneering inventors. Now, as we talk about this, I'm bring two other people to the conversation. The man that everybody knows for the peanut, George Washington Carver, born into slavery in the 1860s, emerged as one of the most influential agricultural scientists of the 20th century, revolutionizing farming practices and transforming the Southern economy. Despite facing immense adversity, including racial discrimination and limited access to education, Carver's insatiable curiosity and innovative spirit propelled him to become a trailblazer in the field of agricultural science. Carver's creative contributions were manifold, but perhaps his most famous work centered around the peanut plant. Through years of dedicated research and experimentation, Carver discovered over 300 different uses for peanuts, ranging from food products like peanut butter and cooking oil to industrial applications such as cosmetics, dyes, and plastics. His innovation not only provided farmers with alternative cash crops, but also helped alleviate poverty and improve nutrition in rural communities. The next person I bring to the table is Mary Van Britten Brown. An African American nurse living in Queens, New York in the 1960s, was a visionary inventor whose groundbreaking invention transformed the landscape of home security systems. Faced with rising crime rates and a lack of police presence in her neighborhood, Brown recognized the need for a more effective and accessible way for homeowners to protect their property and loved ones. Drawing on her background in nursery and her husband's expertise as an electronics technician, Brown devised a comprehensive security system that utilized closed circuit TVs, which is a two-way communication and remote controlled door locks. Her invention, patented in 1969 under the title Home Security System Utilizing Television Surveillance, allowed homeowners to monitor their homes in real time and communicate with visitors or emergency responders from the safety of their own homes. So, that said, the first question that I have, gentlemen, is how did the pioneering inventions of GWC and Mary Van Britten Brown challenge prevailing stereotypes and perceptions about their capabilities and contributions? And you're not limited to just these two people, by the way.
You know, from my vantage point at my age of when I was growing up, I would say it was intimidating. And here's why I say that, because I've heard about George Washington Carver my whole childhood, and all I knew was the man created peanut butter. And then I don't know where I was, but I think I was a teenager, late teens maybe, and I read up on George Washington Carver. I was like, man, the dude had 300 and something inventions with peanuts alone, like. And then to come to find out that he had like just a number of inventions, but what was given to us was peanut butter. That's all we was told, peanut butter. And this is just me growing up in the 80s and 90s. Like, peanut butter, that's it. I like peanut butter, don't get me wrong, but man, cooking oil, fuel usage, and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, it had to be intimidating for us to take probably if you counted probably 400 inventions altogether, but 300 inventions of just the usage of the peanut plant and narrow it down to one thing. That's what I think about when I hear about George Washington Carver, because I remember those memories vividly. The moment I found out how many things he was able to do, and all we would talk as kids is that I like peanut butter and jelly because of him. Like,
I'll piggyback off of that. It showed that we were actually smart. Like, do you know the genius level of intellect you have to siphon 300 different uses for one thing? Like, do you understand what it takes to get there? Do you understand the genius level of intellect you have to get frequencies to work together so that way you can view on a screen somebody coming into your house that ain't supposed to be there? Like, back then, like, are you serious? So I think that was one of the challenges that you know what I'm saying, that they had to overcome. The fact that they could do it and they were smart enough to do it, and they were insanely capable, insanely you know what I'm saying, intellectually okay to do it. Like, that's just nuts. 300 different uses for one thing back then with the limited technology that he had back then. Man, listen, man. And to be able to see somebody on a computer screen back then with the limited technology that they had, like, are you for real? Man, listen, that just goes to show you that we as a whole are smarter than what we give ourselves credit for. But I'm not gonna go on a tangent tonight. I'm gonna shut up. I'm not doing this tonight.
See, George Washington Carver make me go on a tangent because when you think about George Washington Carver, everybody think about the peanut. He went to the peanut and to soybeans and to sweet potatoes and things like that because he was going away from cotton. So it was still field work, field labor. But since he was into that agricultural science or whatever, and Tuskegee, Alabama, at school, he went through that field. He went into that, but he had a really high pitched voice, and there are recordings of him, and he's speaking really like really, really high, and so the men of that time thought he was effeminate, thought he was gay, and they
How high
had
was he speaking again?
real high. I ain't mess with you. It was like
So
that
I saw what you
Maxwell.
did there. I
Yeah,
saw what
like
you did
Maxwell.
there.
But so he had issues in that realm, but we don't see George Washington Carver peanut butter. We see Dan Skippy Klansman. We see Jiffy popcorn, and you see Jiffy. You see all these people who took what this man made and made money off it and left him broke to die. And that's one of the things we got to get. We got to support our people when they make something. We got to make sure, hey, if you make it, you have the patent, you have the rights to it. Because if you make it and they use it, they won't give you the necessary credit. They give him the credit for the ability of making it, but that's about it. They ain't nobody sitting up there saying, well, we gonna make sure his relatives are fine for the rest of their lives. So with George Washington Carver, he was one of those people who didn't just make that. He made other things and other food items so that we can maneuver, and all this stuff that vegans are eating now with these soy products. He had a hand in that early on when it wasn't even a popular thing about being vegan. It was about manufacturing food items.
I was about to say something, but that's not the conversation. I'm sorry.
But you know what I like? I like the fact that you said that. Because for me, one of the biggest stereotypes, and again, we're talking about what, the 1860s, right? One of the biggest stereotypes you got to realize is that you weren't supposed to be smart. You're not supposed to be smart at all, let alone have a title of a scientist and be able to break this thing down, like Chris says, and come up with over 300 different uses of it. And you have to understand, for a group that's, you're told that, and I'm going back to a lot of the stuff that we kind of talked about when I did my master's program, like your brain is different than this other group. Like, it doesn't have the ability to do this. You can't process information like this, and so forth and so on. Like, it's a whole bunch of different stereotypes. You are a lower, of a lower class people, so you don't have the ability to do this and don't have the ability. But yet here it is. We're talking about inventions. We're talking about a closed circuit TV system, to where if you go to different countries, they use it literally citywide. Roland, you've been in Korea before. CCTV is huge. That's one of their main, and they don't have a lot of crime because of CCTV. So it's like when you hear stuff like this and you don't even realize that, yeah, this came from, back in Black history. Like, this is how it was created, and it was patented from a young lady who was a nurse and her husband was a technician, and they just put their brains together and they came up with this thing to protect their neighborhood. That's kind of like one of the biggest things you got to kind of pull back from that. Well, like you said, George Washington Carver did this because he was getting out of the cotton fields, right? Finding different uses and things of that nature. So it's like, when you hear these things and you don't necessarily get the fullness of it, like, you have a responsibility. We should have a responsibility to go research some of it on our own, so that we can get more information, so that we can learn more about ancestors and things of that nature. Because you may have only gotten part of the story, but there's a lot more that goes along with it, as it relates to this. And this is just two that I decided to pull out. But there are hundreds out there that we just don't talk about. Like Adrian just put in there, Madam C.J. Walker, right? That's another story.
The one
Yes.
before that, wait a minute, where was it? Where was it? Alice H. Parker. I
Alice
didn't know
Parker.
she invented the furnace.
Wait, where's that
The
at?
gas,
Or
the gas.
Michelle Ray.
Michelle Ray typed. I didn't know she invented the gas heating furnace. Like, I didn't know this. You know what? Nope.
But that's what this is, man. There we go. I missed that one. Yeah. Revolutionary gas furnace heating system before women were able to vote. I like the one she put up above that one as well. Osborne Dorsey, first doorknob invention. So it's a lot of these things, And if we can just get in group settings like this and put our brains together and start unpacking these things, you'll be surprised at what you can discover. That's why I say I'm not so wrapped around the axle about people who don't know Black history. That's okay. We got enough people in our collective to where we can start sharing it amongst one another. So again, we appreciate you guys sharing that. Frederick McKinley, absolutely. Frederick McKinley Jones left his mark with the development of refrigeration equipment, receiving over 40 patents for it. In the 1930s, he began inventing automatic refrigeration air cooling system units for. I think there's another piece to go along with it as well. It's coming. So it's just stuff like this, right? Being able to listen to it, understand it, and dissect it. And again, we kind of talk about some of the challenges, right? When you look at some of the challenges that they face, it's a lot of it has to be here as well, right? It has to be here because if not, like you're not even thinking about some of the things that they're going through being viewed differently and so forth and so on. And I think Roland, you kind of touched on how that they, you know, when you talked about George Washington Carver, you touched on like how it was taken from him and other people made money off of it. But how did these inventors not only advance technology, but also contribute to social and economic progress?
Are you talking about the two you described?
Any of them. We don't have to limit it to just those two.
Without what they did, we would have nothing to build on to make better. You understand what I'm saying? Like we wouldn't. Without Duke Ellington, you have no music really. Without Maya Angelou, you don't have slam poetry. You don't have Chicago style stepping without Duke Ellington and them. You don't have ballroom dancing without them. You understand what I'm saying? George Washington Carver. You don't have the uses that the plant-based uses, since everybody is so stuck on that nowadays. You don't have the plant-based uses of different nuts or different seeds to go do what you need to do. You understand what I'm saying? Without the lady you described, you don't have digital life. You don't have ADT. Yeah, ADT. You don't have Vivint. You don't have any of those things. You understand what I'm saying? So I would say I wouldn't say that they advanced it, but I would say them having the actual idea gave us something to advance on. But back then, what they did was supremely advanced. You understand what I'm saying? If that makes any sense.
Also, what they did is supremely advanced today because only thing these new patents are doing is recreating things that have already been created. But I'll leave that alone.
No, you
Um,
fine because everything comes full circle. I was gonna touch on that, but that's a rant that I wanted to go on. But go ahead, Tawami.
mhm. Yeah, man, I'm trying not to rant today. But technology as a whole is moved based upon the inventors. Let's just stick with the ones you named and the ones we talked about in the chat. It just really drives you to look and say, did not this community pretty much advance this entire nation to where it is, right? Going from its tobacco fields to its cotton fields to its cotton gins to to his light bulb to his peanut butter and to like to his endless and limitless ends, all the way down to the things that like, and I'm glad you pointed that out. We give credit to Korea and to China for a lot of inventions when they're not inventing these things. It's just society's moving forward on inventions that were already invented. And as you really start thinking about it, is there anything that we hold so dear to our comfort and to our leisures and in today's society that did not come out of the hands of some of these inventors, just a few that were named today? So I would say almost, I don't want to be petty and say everything, right? How not only advanced technology but also contribute to societal economical progress. It everything. And I'm trying not to go somewhere, but I feel like Coach is baiting me without knowing he's baiting me. So, but but
See
when you
why I
talk
threw
about
my hands up?
when you say economical progress, and in this conversation, it's hard not to say, how dare we have a conversation, whether or not you agree or disagree about whether or not reparations should happen or who should get but the fact that we say that there should be no reparations when we just sat here in an hour, we just named the inventions that have created probably every $1 billion industry in our country, but the families of these people can't eat off of it because it was illegal to own patents, because someone else was able to create the same thing and call it different. Now it's a new patent because they couldn't own business. Like, these things crippled generations going forward. And now generations of other people are eating off of it and living lavish off of it. But you're saying their families are not owed anything, but the families are the ones who stole it get to have everything. I'm sorry, I'm going away. But that's the economical progress to me.
How did it advance? It advanced everything in society. Because when you're talking about everything that you already read from the chat, everything was to make life easier, life better. When you talk about refrigerant systems, when you're talking about I don't know if you said it or if I was just reading it earlier, but uh, it was a black man that invented the toilet system in cable cars and on trains. It was a black man, Lewis Latimer. He didn't invent the light bulb, but he invented the something with the filament in the light bulb, so it lasted longer, it didn't burn and bust, and it was cheaper to make and mass produce. So we can thank him for our lights. The elevator system that's out today, it was a black man, Alexander Miles. The cell phones that we use every day, all day, Henry T. Sampson. The stove, T.A. Warren. There are many inventions that were made to make life easier because we didn't like going out in the fields and staying out there all day, coming back in the house, and we got to put ice on food. So we made a refrigerator. And to cook the food, we didn't want to be standing over a burning fire all the time. So we made things like that. Not the washer, but the dryer was made by J. Ross Moore. So every invention that we made was to make life easy. It wasn't just we're not just people that make music and make clothes, but we make life easier for the world. And now we may not get credit, and we may have Maytag and Frigidaire and all these other names on it. But when it came to not the production, but the making of it, it was our thought, our mind, our idea. Because when we're in struggle, we don't like struggle. So we want to come out of that struggle, and coming out of that struggle, we saying, how can we make life easier for us? And that may be one of the problems. We get it too easy now. So instead of struggling, we want to do little dances and stuff. We want to we want to do that on TikTok instead of making inventions. So maybe the struggles that's coming ahead will help us get back to using our minds to actually think.
Is it that we don't want to invent, or is it that the only information we're pushed is gives this generation the idea that all we're good for is to jump, skip, and sing?
Because they don't have no struggle.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. Absolutely. I greatly appreciate that salient information that you just presented, bro. And I want to keep pressing forward because the clock is not slowing down. We're going to move on to scientific innovators. And so, under scientific innovators, I got two more people I want to bring to the table. Number one is Dr. Charles Drew, a renowned physician and medical researcher who made groundbreaking contributions to the field of blood transfusion and blood banking, revolutionizing medical practice and saving countless lives in the process. Born in 1904, Drew faced numerous obstacles due to racial discrimination, but overcame them through his dedication to science inquiry and his unwavering commitment to advancing healthcare for all. One of Drew's most significant achievements was his pioneering work in developing techniques for the long term preservation of blood plasma. During World War II, Drew served as the director of the first American Red Cross blood bank, where he implemented methods for collecting, processing, and storing large quantities of blood plasma for transfusion. His innovations not only facilitated the treatment of wounded soldiers on the battlefield, but also laid the foundation for the modern blood banking system, which continues to save lives around the world. The next person I want to present is Dr. Patricia Bath, a pioneering ophthalmologist and laser surgeon, made significant contributions in the field of ophthalmology, particularly in the treatment of cataracts and other vision impairments. Born in 1942, Bath faced numerous challenges as a black woman pursuing a career in medicine, but overcame them through her extraordinary talent, perseverance, and dedication to improving eye health and vision care for all. One of Bath's most notable achievements was her invention of laser probe, a device used in laser cataract surgery to remove cataracts and restore vision. Developed in the 1980s, the laser probe represented a major advancement in cataract treatment, offering a safer, more precise, and less invasive alternative to traditional surgical techniques. Bath's invention revolutionized cataract surgery and helped restore vision to millions of people worldwide, particularly in underserved communities where access to eye care was limited. That said, gentlemen, the first question that I have for you under this, and again, it's not just limited to these two people. How did contributions of Black scientific innovators such as Dr. Charles Drew and Dr. Patricia Bath advance medical science and improve healthcare outcomes for diverse populations?
I'll go first on this. Now, blood transfusions and anything dealing with blood in the heart is near and dear to me because I've had heart surgery. So, and I was in the medical field for 22 years in the military. Was it 22? Yeah, 22 years in the military. I almost forgot. Uh, th- when you can hone in on processes that help the lifespan or help the transfusion of blood products. See, people think blood is just, oh, it's just the red stuff. But when somebody think, oh, you can separate this stuff and have plasma and red blood cells, and then you can make a way to stabilize it and make it stay in a certain area and move from A to B and sit there when people. Now, this is a time when we were at war, when it was necessary, and he was doing this. And these same systems are better now, but they were catapulted by what he did. And so when they had to do, I had two heart surgeries. When they had to do the heart surgery and put blood back in me, I have to thank him for that. I have to go back to what he started, what he did. And that's just one of the things when it comes to the medical field, because now we're branching off into the manufacture of medications to where, cancer research and all these other researches are being funded by big pharmacology and big companies to make these drugs that are helpful to the community, helpful to every community, not just ours. And it's like we got to sit back and say, man, our minds can fathom things that the normal mind just sit back and say, man, that'll never happen. That can't be. But yet we think outside the box. And that's one of the grand things about being who we are.
I would say the same thing I said earlier. Without Dr. Drew, a lot of people would not be here. The procedure is just streamlined now. It's just gotten easier because of the advances in technology that we've had since then. But without what he did initially, a lot of people wouldn't be here. Without Dr. Bath, a lot of people wouldn't be able to see. Without Dr. Bath, you have no LASIKs. You understand what I'm saying? So I would say just the fact that they thought of the idea and followed through with it. Now we have better, now we have improved on their ideas somewhat. I mean, I understand what Roland is saying about drug companies owning all of these medications and big pharma controlling them, but it's crazy how many medications that I see on TV where the side effects are worse than what it's trying to cure. So that I'm not gonna rant tonight. I'm gonna be good. But yeah, man, like I said, man, these are, everybody that we're talking about are origin points. They're all origin points. Everybody goes back to that. So without them, life would not be as easy as it is. And so that's where I also agree with Roland about us not having a struggle. Like, we don't really have, what are we struggling for? We don't have to hunt to kill our food. You understand what I'm saying? We don't have to worry about our neighbors snatching up what we got. Everything that we have is at our beck and call. Like, we really don't have anything to struggle for, which is why really nothing is being invented. More stuff is just being remixed or remade. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, man. I guess life got so easy that a lot of us decided to give up on our own creativity. But I'm not gonna rant on that tonight.
But y'all leave so much bait out there. and
Do you see why I stopped?
You left bait out there too, man. I'm talking about you.
And I stopped.
Man, but I just say this. We owe everything that we enjoy and have to our ancestors who have come before us. But we also owe them the heart and the spirit of fighters, people. And I'm not just talking about, we don't fight like how they fought, right? We're not fighting off police riots because we want to peacefully march. Or yeah, we are, but still not to the level they were. But we fight to make the world, make life better. Not in the sense as everybody try to start, so we can all live in peace and harmony. That's not going to happen until the return of Hamashiach, right? But to contribute to our society, because when you look at the value of, Roland talked about, of the blood and of the heart, Scripture tells us that the life is in the blood. If your blood ain't flowing, if your cells blood cells ain't operating properly, you in the world of, stuff. So we owe a lot to them, just in these things that probably seemed as small contributions in their mind when they were first doing it. It was just probably just, hey, I got to get this done, or hey, this would be cool, or this will help me do this, whatever the case may be. And we owe so much to these people, and it's more than a thank you. We talking about a generation that produced doctor this and doctor that and doctor this and doctor that, and now we come today and our legacies are held at, did he make $100,000? I'm sorry, not gonna bait Chris. I'm gonna leave that alone. Or legacies is held to, but did he win a championship? Right? That's what our legacies are held to, and these people are out here changing the world, right? Like, and then I wrote down a Dr. Caroline Still Anderson, because she pioneered the idea of women in education and just getting education, and was known as one of as the first Black or African American women physicians in the state of Philadelphia or state of Pennsylvania. But as far as we keep going back, and it's like we owe our generations, we owe them. Like for me, I can say for me, I owe them, to at least give my generation, my kids, the drive to to reach for excellence. And because the potential of who we are us is so much more vast than what we have ourselves to. Fathers are limited to take your son outside and throw a ball so he knows how to play a sport, but not reading a book together. But
I like that because that, sir, is the perfect segue to where I wanted to go. Now, like I said in the beginning of the show, we've been talking Black history all month long. And being that this is the last week of Black History Month, that kind of takes us to building bridges for the future. And because of time and what you literally just said, I want to jump to the last question first. In what ways can we support and empower the next generation of Black innovators and visionaries to pursue their dreams and make a positive impact on the world?
You are really trying to make me angry, aren't you, tonight?
Me? Would I do that?
You are really trying to do this. I said I was gonna be nice. I said I was gonna. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying.
I'm gonna need you to convince me because I don't see how this question makes you angry, sir.
Because, man, one of the major ways we can help our youth and the next generation pursue their dreams and make a positive impact on the world is to not shut their dreams down just because you can't see yourself doing it. Come down to their level. Maybe they got a thought in their head and they might need a little encouragement and they can't get it from the people that claim love them or claim that they want what's best for them. They supposed to be out here pursuing their dreams and trying to make a positive impact on the world. Are you kidding me? They supposed to be better than you. I'm not talking parent-child dynamic. I'm talking youth-elder dynamic. The youth are supposed to be better than you because you were supposed to put them in a position to be better than you. So if they think of something, quit trying to just drown their dreams out because you can't see it happening, or it may change how you think. That's where I would start. And I'm going to leave it at that.
my nah, I was just gonna say, because I have one of the most overthinking perfectionist child in my house right now. And for me, it's like at 9 years old, he'd be 9 on Sunday, right? Family, he went and got his hair cut. They went to eat ramen, his favorite dinner. Uh, while I was setting up to talk with you guys.
Can't go wrong.
Tonight.
Can't go wrong.
Hey, he's half Japanese in his mind, but you know, I feel like so here's the thing. I don't know his dreams. He barely knows his dreams right now. But my job is to feed his mind and to never let him be a quitter, right? I look at sports from a different aspect, right? I don't own land. I can't send him out there to chuck hay, to throw hay around the farm. You know what I mean? And can't send him out there to go pull on the others to get some milk. Like that's not our story. It's not our life. But I could teach him how to go out there and hustle. He may be the smallest guy on the court. He's probably always one of the quickest guys on the court. You know, something about them little guys move fast. You know, but
Muggsy Bogues is one of the best point guards in the NBA. He was 5'3".
I think he was 5'5", but I feel you. I'm just being petty. I'm just being petty. but the point is like we feed his mind. He has set time. If he ain't got no homework, you still got set time that you got to read. Go pick a book, and it's to the point to where he's excited. Daddy, come look at the new book I got. Daddy, come look at this, and he comes show me his iPad. Daddy, we made a movie. I'm going to show you my, all right, show me the movie. Okay, I bet you can't add credits to this. What's credits? Now he's going to go look up credit because I want to, not teaching him how to make movies, but I want to tap into his inventive side, to his creative side, and know that it exists and what it feels like to dig within yourself to make something happen, with what you have. And so what we can do is we could continue to feed their minds, continue to teach them. There's life lessons in almost everything we do. And I think a lot of times as parents, we're too busy sitting back smiling, saying that a boy, versus actually taking the opportunity to create teaching lessons and teaching opportunities so that their minds can always be thinking, so they can always be moving, because they are sponges. They're thinking about how to think. And so let's give them something, let's nurture them and watch them grow. That's what I got.
You know me, I'm all about exposure. expose them. Expose them to whatever, even if you're uncomfortable with it. If they want to go see this, if they want to tap into that, expose them to a number of things. That way they can find their passions. They can say, man, I didn't know that. I have a friend that I went to high school with. His son is in the orchestra. I'm sorry, and then he's in the choir, and he sings. And it's like the boy plays football with the best of them, but he sings, and he's into that, and he's not limited to his athletics, but he is allowed to broaden his horizons. And when it comes to, like Twami was saying about his son, with his son, I call his son Professor. Not because he's a professor now, but because it's something that I see in him and I try to speak it into him. I'm like, dude, you ain't got to be a teacher of anything in the college, but I want you to teach people something. So broaden your mind. And he knows it's like an expectation there where, like, I expect for you to get A's and B's. I don't expect for C's, D's, and F's. So we have to speak that into our kids' lives. We can't be sitting up there calling them dumb and stupid. And even if they are earning C's, we got to find out what the problem is, what the issue is, because sometimes we try to put what we think they should do on the kids. Where, like on TikTok right now, it's a thing going around where a teacher is grading a paper and it like has a picture of which, where the child should say which, but it says teacher, and say it has a picture of this, and the child says, and you can see the child know that they are being antagonistic. The child knows what they're doing, but they're putting things that are relatable to them now. And it's not that their brain isn't working, it's that they aren't being challenged enough. That's how I see it. So we got to challenge our kids to be better. We got to challenge them to do more and speak greatness into them. Don't talk down to them because they're not doing it your way, because they're not seeing things your way. And when we do that, then we'll see a better result, because they won't be carbon copies of us. They will be better than us, as I think Chris was saying.
Okay, I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I talk to these youngsters. Like, we actually sit and we chop it up. Roland, you're right. We do need to cultivate creativity in our youth, but we also need to cultivate creativity in our youth the way that they need it cultivated, and not the way that we think they need it cultivated. These kids are speaking a different language. These kids are speaking a completely different language. That's why I said earlier we got to come down to them. We have to understand them now, because I think that's the gap between the older generation and the younger generation. It's like we got to come we to understand them, we got to come down to their level, and we have to understand what they need at their level and not the level we think they should be at. You understand what I'm saying? If that makes any sense?
I think it's twofold. Yeah, I think that part, as well as being the adult, having gone through some things, we have to guide them in certain areas while allowing them to be expressive and learn from them what they actually want, and not pushing our desires on them.
Right. And that's what I'm leaning towards. Like, don't be pushy with it. You understand what I'm saying? Because you being pushy with it is going to push them away from you. These kids, man, with all of this technology, man, it's amazing what they can do. It really, really, really is. It's amazing what they can do. And if we could just come down to their level and learn their language, so that way we can bridge this gap, I think they would be more in tune to hear about some of the guidance that we have as elders, because we're starting to understand where they coming from. And we're not just looking at them as, oh, you kids, you young. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? We do need to do that, but it has to be in their language and not ours.
I think so. I like what everybody is saying here. Um, there are certain things that I said intentionally throughout the podcast for a particular reason. I started off with, if you've ever said that I'm not creative or whatever, um, because and I said that because a lot of times, most of us, unless it is centered around a particular skill set or talent, then we don't look at it as creativity. But we got to understand what creativity really is, right? First and foremost, creativity is a method of solving problems. If we don't understand it to be that, then we're just thinking creativity is me shooting a basketball through a hoop, right? That's different. Creativity is a method of solving problems. Everybody that we talked about tonight, maybe the past 4 weeks, have solved problems of some degree, of some sort. But before we get to the aspect of creativity, we got to get to the point where we can actually um, um, think critically. I say that because our kids, the youth, are in a system that doesn't allow them to think critically. It tells them what to critically think. And so if 1 plus 1 is before you, then they can come up with two. And so that becomes the issue because now, in order for them to get the two, everybody's looking for 1 and 1. But life is not going to give you 1 and 1. Life is going to give you 1 times 1 divided by this at the square root of this parenthesis. You see what I'm saying? And that's the issue. So people are stuck in a space to where they do not know that they have creativity in them because they were never given the right way to pull it out. And so if parents aren't home teaching their children, right, how to think outside of the school teaching them what to think, and I'm sorry, in some instances I probably need to tell you, like, no, I understand it's what your teacher said, but this is what I want you to think about. This is what I want you to consider, right? How many different ways can you do that? I understand they taught you how to do this, but how many different other ways can you come up? Like, challenge them in the home, right? Allow them to think different ways. Have them to start looking at things from different perspectives that way. Now, what you're doing is you're teaching them how to think critically, right? Identify reality and pull out the problem set and clearly identify what the problem is, and then come up with different ways of solving the problem without eliminating any problems or any solutions that they come up with first. Put all of the things down. How will you solve this? Okay. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Okay, you got 6 different ways to solve this problem. Now, out of these 6 ways, which is more advantageous? Which will get you to the solution faster with the least amount of resources? That's what we have to do in the home. That's how we help the youth, right? And so I'm agreeing with what you're saying here, Chris, but I'm also agreeing with what Roland's saying as well. Because here's the other side of the coin. I will be completely transparent. Our generation screwed it up enough. The generation before us screwed it up enough. And so it takes the ones that are still alive that are willing to say, hey, I made some mistakes. And if you allow me to, I would teach you the lessons that I learned through my mistakes. I'm not coming to you like I'm Superman. I'm not coming to you like, hey, I know I got all the answers. You need to listen to me. No, I'm coming to you humbly and being completely transparent. Listen, I done made some mistakes, bro. You don't want to make the mistakes that I made because the mistakes that I made comes with a lifetime of pain to goes along with it. But if you allow me to, I can show you a better way of doing it. If we can sit down and we can talk about the solution that you want to come to, and then I can help you get there. I will partner with you to get you there. Not directing, pointing the finger, dictating. No, that's not leadership, man. That's dictatorship. And so if anybody is doing anything of that nature, they need to stop talking to anybody else outside of themselves. But the way to help them is to help them to understand where we went wrong, where we could have done it right, right? But we did some things wrong. This is what we did wrong, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes that we made. That's my perspective, gentlemen. Please, by all means, you know, give me your thoughts on it, so forth and so on.
No, you're right. That's why I said I agree with Roland. Like I agree. I truly do. But like I said, man, talking to these kids, man, they just honestly need us to come down to their level. And you said something that was very profound. You said, if you allow me to, meaning you opened the door. You didn't kick in the door of their life and say, you need to do this because I said so and I'm old, so you need to listen to me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You open the door. And that's what I mean by come down to their level. You got to open up that door and say, hey, I did some dumb stuff. If you want to know how not to do this, come talk to me. That's really what it is. And I'm pretty sure that they'll come talk to you just because you offered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big. I'm a big proponent of, as mentors and as elders, you have to cultivate and teach. The application is not up to me. Um, so we 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 there's a lot of work that we have to do in the home when it comes to thinking on top of character, because that plays a part as well, and how we do things, right? So thinking, character, and then the independency to figure it out. You know, if I'm telling you, like we always talk about sports with our kids, but if I'm telling you to shoot 100 jump shots, but I'm not willing to buy you a basketball hoop to go shoot on, then it's really a dead conversation, right?
Or
So
even take you to the park that's up the street and around the corner.
yeah, or something, right? Then it's a dead conversation. So we have to be willing to create the opportunity, the space, and the resource for them to have trial and error. Because I'm all for it. There's a balance to life. You have to be willing to be taught and guided, and then you have to be then you can go ahead and create, right? Or you can go ahead and experiment, which leads to creation. Right? It's not. I think sometimes we think about create as in I'm gonna sit down and write this book about this, create this book. No, sometimes you just got to start putting stuff together, and the idea will come. The what was it? The guy named George Crumb accidentally created the potato chip because he, as a chef, he had customers who didn't like his thick cut potatoes, so he sliced them smaller and created a crisp chip. It was an accident, but he created. So you just got to allow them space and opportunity. Right? Exactly. So that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that. Listen, again, like I said, we hope that these past 4 weeks have been insightful to everybody as we try to look at different perspectives of Black history. Again, it should not be a Black History Month, and I deem that we make it Black Friday every week. Just my thoughts, but that's just my point. We went a little long, so we're not going to do final thoughts again this week. But listen, again, I want to make sure that everybody understand this last point that I'm gonna make. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you've done for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life. You have a creative niche about you. If you do not believe me, if you do not believe that, then come talk to me. I promise you, you have a creative niche about you. You've just never been put to the point to where you can discover the creativity that's within you. So that's my last point I'm going to leave with you on this evening. Listen, I believe that every person has the ability to create something that can have a lasting effect, not just for you, your family, and your community, but also for those to come. So, that being said, listen, continue to do great things, continue to show up, continue to be proud of who you are, be proud of your culture, right? Don't ever let anybody make you feel bad about anything in relation to that, right? You have greatness in you. I don't care what you heard before. You're hearing it tonight. You have greatness with you, and I know these gentlemen will co-sign what I'm saying. So with that being said, tomorrow morning, 10:30. We're going to continue our conversation on forgiveness. So, by all means, jump in, join, as always, add value, and again, ask questions. So, have a great rest of your evening and have a fantastic weekend if we don't see you in the morning. And again, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.